most people call them soft skills, but here we call them essential skills, and then look at hard skills. We'll talk about the job search and some tips and techniques there to help you find the job that you're looking for. We'll do a Q&A at the end, but please feel free to ask questions as we go along. I know Camilla is going to be monitoring the chat, and so if you enter those into the chat, it'll just make the presentation more rich and more engaging, and that's the kind of style that I like. And I know not every presentation is like that, but for me, I just think it makes for a much more engaging experience for everybody. So when we look at COVID-19, I wanted you to see the dramatic impact of Q2, the second quarter of the year. You can see the record drop in economic output for the United States. And this was the worst that was on record. And this was, again, the second quarter of this year. And then let's look at how COVID-19, the pandemic, impacted our industry, hospitality and tourism here in the States. COVID-19, the impact is 7 times that of 9/11. And I was with Wyndham Corporate when 9/11 took place. And that really kind of brought our industry to its knees. And this is 7 times that impact. 2/3 of all US hotels are running below 50% occupancy. And the average is really between 20 and 30%. So you can kind of get a gauge of how dramatic the impact is. And 1/4 of all US hotel properties are struggling to pay their mortgage. They're 30 days or more behind on their mortgage payment. And then look at the airline traffic, and this is globally, just about 80% down from where it was last year. 4 out of 10 US employees are still not working because of COVID-19. And the cruise ship industry is not looking to sail most of their ships until 2021. So this will just give you a snapshot of what has happened with our industry as a result of COVID-19. These are the bankruptcies that have happened as a result of COVID-19 here in the United States. And I put it together for you so that you could kind of give you a snapshot of how each month you can see more and more bankruptcies. I highlighted the ones that are hospitality and tourism related. And again, these are national chains or regional chains that have had to declare bankruptcy because of COVID-19. The one thing I would say about the impact of COVID-19 and the dramatic numbers that were reflective, it's because we've taken travel out of the economy. And when you take travel, which is the cornerstone of our economy here in the States, and it's applicable no matter what country you look at, but when you take travel out of your economy, everything pretty much comes to a screeching halt. But you can see to date, 17 restaurant chains in the United States have declared bankruptcy because of COVID-19. 17 national chains. So I wanted to give you an idea of what's the traveler sentiment. How do our US population, how do they feel about traveling now in lieu of COVID-19? 1/3, only about 1/3 have actually traveled for an overnight stay since the impact hit here in the United States in March. And then only about 38% are likely to travel by the end of the year. Those that have plans for the next 6 months, 69% of those anticipate possibly changing those travel plans. And then the last 3 at the bottom of the slide really kind of give you an idea of how people feel about opening up their economy, opening up their community to visitors or going beyond their community to travel regionally, and then whether or not they feel comfortable. Only 48% feel comfortable or safe dining in a restaurant or shopping in retail. Now, when I tell you all of that, it's not to get you alarmed or make you think, oh my gosh, why am I in hospitality and tourism? The one thing I want you to realize is that we will emerge out of this and we will be bigger and more strong than we have been previously. What they're calling the eventual outcome of travel coming back into play, revenge travel. You're going to hear that a lot. And that is because everyone's been locked down and not able to get out and go and do. And so that revenge travel is in the back of everyone's mind. And I put on there the travel bucket list. Everybody has a travel bucket list, especially my generation, the older generation. And when we get the green light, when we emerge out of this COVID-19 pandemic, you're going to see people traveling and going and doing these things that have been on their bucket list, but have never been able to go and do. Could be, going to the Galapagos or going to Paris, or maybe you guys deciding that you've always wanted to go to the United States. You're going to see people acting upon that pent up demand and going and doing. And again, it's going to be bigger and the industry is going to be stronger for weathering this storm. So with that in mind, with the future looking so bright, let's talk about the importance of soft skills, what I call essential skills. And I don't know if you realized, but 86% of the essential skills that are needed for a hospitality management position or for a manager, it's those soft skills, those essential skills. And what I wanted to show you here is looking from 2015 to where we are today in 2020. And you can see I put a red X by those that have fallen off the radar, I guess you would say. And when we look at 2020, I gave you the arrows to kind of show you how they played out in terms of the transition from 2015 to 2020. And there's two new ones that have actually emerged as being important for the workplace. And that's emotional intelligence and cognitive flexibility. For hospitality and tourism, these are the important areas that HR hiring individuals and organizations are looking whenever they're doing their hiring process. They're looking for people that can enhance their customer service because it's all about that experience, the service delivery. So they're looking for people that, individuals that can enhance their service delivery for the organization. Cultural awareness, because just like we were talking about with the emergence coming out of COVID-19 and everyone looking to cross off destinations off of their travel bucket list, you're going to see more international travel. When that green light hits, you're going to see a lot more interaction between different destinations and people traveling abroad. Communication skills, you're going to see that as we continue through the presentation, the importance of communication skills, and especially multitasking and time management. You're going to see how that really has emerged as being so important to organizations. And we'll talk about how you need to promote your ability to handle multitasking and time management. Professionalism is essential. You're going to see that throughout the presentation as well. And we'll even talk about personal branding and how you have a personal brand and your role and responsibility in that. Teamwork and relationship building. I don't know if you guys are as sensitive to it as our students. They don't like group assignments and they always question us as to why we put them into groups, but it's because of the importance of team building and relationship building. And if you look at problem solving and conflict resolution, those are often things that you have to deal with whenever you are put into a group. And so this is why we put you into group assignments, whether it's in a certain course that you're taking or special projects that we have you do. excuse me, flexibility and enthusiasm. That's something you can readily see whether or not somebody has the passion and the desire. But I always say I cannot teach you to smile. You either smile naturally or you don't. So at my country club, whenever we were hiring, I'd always hire for attitude and passion. And then attention to details. That is something within our industry, it's so important, whether it's a banquet or a wedding or even just preparing the guest room for the guest. It's all about the attention to details so that we provide the best experience possible for those individuals so that they have the best experience, and then they share that experience, and then they become brand advocates. They're so loyal to our brand. So again, professionalism is very important, dependability and critical thinking. But when you look at what's lacking, it's that critical thinking component that is lacking in the workplace and why that is needed. And that's what hiring managers are looking for, is people and individuals that can think quickly on their feet and handle, because hospitality and tourism is very fluid. Things change very rapidly in the workplace, and you have got to be able to adjust and think on your feet. Again, professionalism and dependability are key as well. But right now, if you are good at critical thinking, you need to promote that throughout. And we'll talk about ways that you can highlight that to potential employers. This is why the Ritz-Carlton utilizes their $2,000 rule. I'm sure you're probably familiar with how the Ritz-Carlton has this policy. It's for their employees. They are championed with handling any situation, resolving any situation that may occur. And they have at their disposal $2,000 that they can utilize to remedy and solve that situation. That's why it's so important. They recognize the importance of that critical thinking, and we need to resolve the issues while they're on site rather than later on, because once people check out or leave the establishment, the chances are that the issue is going to mushroom, it's going to grow, it's going to snowball, become bigger and bigger and bigger, because our mind is going to make it more than what it actually was. The longer it has more time to grow and fester. So when we look at showcasing our skills, one of the best ways to do that is through your cover letter. You need to make sure that you establish a cover letter, come up with a template. There's many resources available, and I have some resources at the end of the presentation that will give you some sites that you can go to that will actually assist you with the cover letter. If you are not on LinkedIn, you need to get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where the majority of jobs are found now. I also give you some resources like H Careers and some of the other different websites that are out there at the end of the presentation. Your resume, we'll talk a little bit about the resume and the importance and making it digestible, because resumes, you have a lot of information on the resumes, but what I want you to do is think of yourself as a hiring manager. Make it easy for them to understand who you are, what you're all about, what are your skills and competencies, and why should I hire you? That's what you want to highlight, and we'll talk about that even further in the presentation. The other thing is to make sure that you understand how to share the details that your skill set that you have and how you've applied them. We'll be looking at that later on in the presentation as well, but it's not just about saying that I'm good at this. How is it that you're good at that? And how have you utilized it? How have you applied whatever that you are highlighting? The other thing to keep in mind is that our skills in hospitality and tourism are very transferable. What I did here was give you a snapshot of some tweets from Walgreens. Walgreens is a national chain. It's a healthcare drugstore type chain. And when the pandemic erupted in March and April, and a lot of our industry employees were being furloughed or laid off. They actually targeted those displaced workers within hospitality and tourism. And you can see from their tweets how they were really targeting those individuals, because they understand the importance of what we bring to the table. We bring individuals that are, that's their expertise. They're genuine, they're caring, they're compassionate. They want to serve the customers, and that's what they knew that they would bring to the table and enhance their customer experience. So be mindful that you bring talents, skills, competencies to an organization. And you need to be able to explain how you do that, whether you're really good at building a rapport with your customers, connecting with them, maybe you speak different languages. That's a huge benefit in the workplace today, if you're able to speak those different languages. And then remember that you want to highlight the fact that you can deliver on meeting the needs and wants and desires of customers, because it's all about building brand loyalty and customer retention. And once you're good at that, you're going to be offered more and more opportunities for employment, whether it's through an organization or a property specific that you're working at. Self-awareness is very important. Whenever you become more aware of who you are, what you're good at, what your competencies are, it's going to make you more confident whenever you go in for job interviews, and even when you perform in the workplace. It's just going to make you a more well-rounded, more confident, more self-assured individual. In our industry, we wear a lot of different hats. I mean, I can tell you throughout my career, starting out as a busboy at the Biloxi Hilton, you know, if I walked around saying that's not my job, I think I would have probably lost my job right off the bat, because they were constantly, you know, sending you over here to do this, do that, what have you. In our industry, you have to do that. And when you get into a management position, you need to cross-train your employees, so that if someone calls in sick or they couldn't make it to work, you've got coverage. It's going to help you reduce your payroll cost, but it's beneficial for me as an employee to understand the role of, let's say if I work the front desk, if I know the roles and responsibilities of the housekeepers in the back of the house, it makes me a more appreciative, more compassionate for what they go through on a daily basis. I mean, at Circus Hotel and Casino, those housekeeping staff, they clean 18 rooms a day, 18 rooms. And so, you know, we're at the front desk and we're checking people in, and they're, you know, demanding their room and wanting to, you know, get checked in so that they can go and start gambling or go see a show or what have you. It makes it a little easier for you to explain the situation if you understand the room's not ready, to be able to say the housekeepers are in the room now, they're finishing up the last minute details, because they want to make that room as special for you as possible. But it's going to make you much more understanding and compassionate if you've done that job or been exposed to what their roles and responsibilities are. The other thing to keep in mind with our skills being transferable is it's not good enough to just say, I'm a well-organized person. I see that on so many resumes. I hear it. I see it on LinkedIn. Tell me how it is that you are well-organized. You know, give examples of that. Put that into your into your cover letter. Put it into your LinkedIn, your social media. Explain to people how it is that you've utilized your skills. And then make sure that you put a connection in there to the organization that you're applying to. If you hire me, this is how my organization skills are going to enhance the organization or enhance the business. That's what you need to be communicating, not just telling people that you're well organized. That's not going to cut it. Give them more details. So let's now talk about the hard skills. We talked about the soft skills and the importance there, but hard skills are just as important as soft skills. And if you look at the far right on the bottom of the graphic, you'll see job seekers, how they feel about, excuse me, the hard skills. They think only 19% of them think that it's important, whereas 81% of the HR individuals feel that it is. And when you look at the HR's perspective, HR is looking at soft skills and hard skills. They're looking at the basically very, very similar in terms of they're looking at soft skills, 56%, they look at that as being important. They look at hard skills as being important, 44%. So it's almost equal. But again, I think I spoke a little bit incorrectly on that graphic on the right-hand side. This is what job seekers are looking at and what they determine as being important. They determine or think that 81% are looking for soft skills, that they feel that that's much more important whenever they're in the job seeking process. And they only consider their technical skills, 19%, as being important. So when we look at the hard skills for hospitality and tourism, many, many times it's the property management systems that we utilize. It's, Microsoft Office, whether or not you can use Excel, all the other different Office suites that are out there, the different programs that are out there, social media. A lot of organizations now are hiring people to handle their social media. They know that your generation is very good at social media and being engaged in social media, all the different platforms that are out there. So if that's something that you're passionate about and you have an interest in it, highlight it and show how you could enhance their social media presence and which platforms they're on or which ones they're not on and should be on. It all depends on their target market. The other, I already talked about the importance of knowing different languages. That is key. It's so important, especially for hospitality and tourism. If you are knowledgeable and understanding and can speak different languages. When I was at Wyndham Corporate, I was there for 20 years, and it seemed like every week there was an email coming out, who speaks this language? And most of the time it was crickets. No one would respond because people did not speak that language. If you speak a language or you're looking to learn another language, look where the growth is. Look at Asia. There is so much growth in Asia. So maybe it's Mandarin, maybe it's Japanese. Pick up a language that people don't speak. That's going to separate you from your competition and give you a competitive advantage. Certifications are important. Always continue to learn. And if you are good at data and revenue analysis, for the most part in our industry, per capita, for the most part, our students do not excel in this arena. And if you are good at data and revenue analysis, you are going to be held in high esteem and high regard, and there's going to be a higher salary offered to you because, again, not many people are comfortable or knowledgeable in that arena. Cloud computing is very, very big now. It seems that COVID-19 has even put that into steroids. Everyone is utilizing it. That is another opportunity for you, if that's a strength of yours, to promote and showcase and highlight. The other area there is apps and web development. If you are good at those, highlight it, showcase how you've utilized those skills, how those skills would enhance the organization that you're looking to apply to or looking to get on board with. Again, we talked a little bit about just saying I'm good at or I have knowledgeable in a certain area. We want to make sure that we explain and utilize, give more detail as to how you've used those skills in the past and how you could use them in the future. Whenever you get into the interview process, you're going to be asked quite often, give me more details, provide more information. Sometimes they'll give you a scenario and you have to explain how you've utilized your skills and competencies, or how you would use those in that particular situation. The other thing I would recommend that you do is whenever you're applying for a job, look at the job description. That job description will tell you everything you need to know about the responsibilities, roles that are required for anyone that takes that position. And we'll talk a little bit later about how to utilize that job description to your benefit. Make sure again that you are able to provide examples of all of your skills and competencies and how you've utilized them in the past or how you could utilize them in the future. The other thing that is so important, and that's a consistent theme that I talk about throughout the presentation, is your willingness to learn and be open-minded and grow and continuing to add to your skills and competencies, but be receptive to take on new tasks. You know, just like we were talking about with cross-training, if you get into the workplace and you are not receptive to learning new tasks, you're going to be siloed. Here in the States, it means that you're going to be put into a certain box or thought of in a certain light. And you want to be the one that's the team player, the trooper, the one that when there's a crisis, there's a problem, that's the person I can call on. So maybe it's Camilla. I'm going to ask Camilla to go in and handle this situation or help me with it because she's done it in the past. I know she can do it again in the future. That cross-training is so important in the workplace. And whenever you get into being a manager, and even if you're just an employee, be receptive to it, be open to it. And if you're a manager, utilize it. Because again, it's going to help you reduce your payroll cost. It's going to help with your service delivery and enhance the experience that you're offering for your customers. Continuing to grow, again, like I said, that's just going to be a consistent theme throughout. This slide, I know you're probably thinking, what in the world? But I want you to really think about, we're talking about you understanding yourself and getting to know yourself and understanding your personal development. I am 6'4". I'm a tall man. Okay, and I put the meters up there for you so you'd understand converting 6'4" over to meters. But just because I'm tall and just because I like basketball doesn't mean that I'm good at basketball. And it doesn't mean someone will pay me to play basketball. I hope that you understand what I'm trying to say there. So many times, let me say it this way. When I was with Wyndham Corporate, I had a friend of mine that she was a good cook. Everyone at Wyndham Corporate told her that she was a good cook. She bought into all of this wonderful praise about her cooking and decided after 22 years that she was with Wyndham Corporate, she was going to open up her own restaurant because she was a good cook. Let me just say this. If you're a good cook, you're going to be in the back of the house and you're cooking in the kitchen. Who's watching the point of sale system? Who's controlling the cash for your restaurant? Her restaurant closed in 1 year. She gave up her career with Wyndham Corporate after 22 years to open up her own restaurant, not mindful of the roles and responsibilities of being an entrepreneur. And basically her dream was built off of her being a good cook. So again, what I want you to remember is that it's not just about this is my passion, this is my dream. It's not just your passion and your talents. It's will someone pay you to do that? And if you have the right passion and talents, they will pay you to do that. But it's knowing yourself and knowing your capabilities and your strengths and your weaknesses, that when you do that personal SWOT, you will understand what you bring to the table, what your value is. And that's what is so important whenever you start the interview process, when you start that job search process. Everyone has a personal brand. You have a personal brand, I have a personal brand. And your personal brand, everyone's brand, is designed by design or by default. It's forged either by design or by default, meaning that you either take possession of it or someone else will. It's not just your image, it's your mission. What are you doing to forge your career, for the career that you want? What are your values? What do you hold dear? That's going to be an important question whenever you start the interview process. And many times you need to make sure that your values align with the organization where you're going to work. I've seen many people, they don't do their research on the organization. They come on board to an organization and they realize that their personal values don't really align with the organization. So it's not a good fit. You need to do your research. You need to understand your personal brand. You need to understand your vision. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself down the road? So take possession of your personal brand. Once you start to understand yourself and who you are, your strengths, your capabilities, your competencies, you understand that value, and then that's going to help you explain how you can enhance and what you bring to an organization whenever you do the interview process. What I want you to get from this slide is, remember I've told you that that's going to be a constant theme, that I want you to continue to learn and continue to grow and be receptive to different tasks and responsibilities. Most people, by the time they are 25, will stop learning. They continue, they think that they've made it, they don't have to learn anymore. And I hear it from my students. They go, well, you know, I don't want to be in school anymore. A lot can change. And when you get into the workplace and you start to realize that you don't know everything you thought you did, or it could be that, you know, by doing the cross training, I'm learning that, oh my gosh, I really like marketing, or I really like HR, human resources, or there's another area that you hadn't even thought about, sales, or you name it. Once you see that there's opportunities there, continue to learn, continue to grow. Don't become stagnant. Don't become the average person that by the time they're 25, they check out. You need to continue to learn and grow. I took advantage of the tuition reimbursement program with Wyndham Corporate to go after my master's and my PhD. But I can tell you that I was one of the few. Here, it's a Fortune 500 company. They offered, the max was $6,000 a year for you to go to school, and you could get your master's or even your PhD. I was one of the very few that did it. And if you get into an organization that has tuition reimbursement, I highly recommend that you take advantage of it, continue to grow. And maybe it's not a full-fledged graduate degree. Maybe it's just those certifications or certificates. Just continue to grow and learn. This is a certificate program that I wanted to bring to your attention. It just became available. I just learned of it. This is through the University of South Florida. It's totally free. You have to sign up by October 30th. It's 7 modules. They're 70-minute modules. You have to complete it by December 18th of this year. But it's totally free. It's in English. It would give you an opportunity to get this certificate and have it readily available. The URL is there at the bottom of the slide. Again, you'll be getting the presentation embedded with all of the links and so forth. But consider participating in this and getting this certificate. It's free and readily available. So the key takeaways is evaluate your skill set, understand the value that you bring to the organization. Self-knowledge and self-awareness is so key, especially whenever you enter the job search process. Again, it's not just knowing your skills. You need to know how you could use them or how you have used them in the past. Remember that the hospitality and tourism skills are transferable and can readily be transitioned over into different sectors. So don't be just so focused on hospitality. If we're still dealing with COVID, whenever you graduate, look at healthcare, look at retail, look at some of the other sectors that are out there that are strategically targeting those with a hospitality background. And again, my constant theme, continue to grow. Don't check out when you're 25 years old and be like some people. I know family and friends that basically technology has passed them by. They're not good with technology at all. And you know how quickly the iPhone comes out, and trying to keep up with the latest version. And if you don't stay up to date with the latest version, you're left behind. So what I wanted to do now is talk to you a little bit about the job search process. And these slides and the tips and techniques that I'm going to share with you came about from my experience of being laid off after 20 years with Wyndham. And this was only about 5 years ago that I was still with Wyndham. And I was thrust into the job market, and things had changed so dramatically that there was a major learning curve for me. And so I just want to share with you what I learned, and hopefully it will make the process easier for you and you'll be able to handle it better than I did. The thing that you need to keep in mind with the job search is that it is a job in itself. You are going to be working 40 hours or more a week. You've got to be organized. I know we said that was one of the things you want to say, that you're organized. Trust me, you are going to, if you're not organized, you're going to get swamped, and it's going to be very apparent to anyone that's interviewing you that you do not, you're not handling the process well. So when we talk about preparing, you need to make sure that we've already talked about the resume and the LinkedIn profile. You need to get on LinkedIn. You need to get that resume up to date. You need to get the cover letter template ready to go, have that. And the one thing I want to say about the cover letter is that you don't want your cover letter to be set it and forget it kind of thing. You need to customize your cover letter for the job that you are applying for. And we'll talk about that on a couple of slides coming up. But it's so important that you do not, and I've seen people do this, copy and paste or use the same cover letter. It didn't matter whether I was applying for a culinary position or a hospitality position or a retail position. You really need to be more strategically focused and targeted with your promotional pieces. Clean up your social media. When I was with Wyndham Corporate, you wouldn't even get an interview if you had not cleared the social media screening. Basically, look at your social media in terms of, what would my grandmother think if she saw this? That should enlighten you as to, and it could be just a cup. You've got a cup in your hand. But if it looks like it's a party, people are going to assume that there's alcohol in the cup. You don't want anything that you are pushing out through your social media that is going to project a party image, an unprofessional image. We already talked about the professionalism, right? So you've got to make sure that your personal brand, that whatever you are projecting, that is the image that you want to project. References, if you have any contacts with, whether it's guest speakers throughout your courses, any industry individuals that you come in contact with, garner those references. I'm going to talk to you just about, I think it's the next slide or the one right after, about the job search tracking system. I learned that the hard way. That is so important. And if you do not have that, you're going to get yourself into a mess. The elevator pitch, I don't know if you are familiar with that terminology, but basically, if you were on an elevator, let's say at a high-rise hotel, and someone asks you who you are and what do you do, could you tell them before the elevator gets, or before they get to their next floor and get off the elevator, could you tell them in that span of time who you are and what you're all about? That's what that elevator pitch is. So it's a tight, concise, this is who I am, this is what I'm all about, this is what I do. And that's what you need to hone and have it readily available, that you could share that with someone at a moment's notice. Compiling the interview sample questions, that is key to anticipate the questions that they're going to ask you. And then rehearse answers for those potential questions. Think them through. How would you answer that question? You know, one of the questions that are the things that they always say, give me a weakness. They'll ask you for your strengths and your weaknesses. And I always like to say, for my weakness is that I like immediate results, and you can't always have that. See, really that's a strength, but I'm utilizing that as a weakness and spinning it to where it's going to be interpreted as a strength. So look for options and ways to do something similar with your weaknesses. This is not the most perfect resume, but it highlights the fact that it's easy to read. It tells me everything I need to know as a hiring agent. I can quickly look at the skills. I see what your objective is. I see what your experience is. It gives me all kinds of details that if I know that I want to drill down and learn more about you, I can do that. The other thing on the far right-hand side here is I wanted you to see how these individuals have personalized their signature in their email. Do something very, very similar. Showcase who you are, what you do. Give me a link to your URL. I mean, to your LinkedIn URL. Embed that. Give that to me. Maybe it's a book that you're reading. Maybe it's a favorite quote. Personalize it. Give me more information about you. Put it into your emails so that that's being sent out all over, whether it's just a basic communication or if it is for a job interview or follow-up from an interview. Okay, so this is the tracking sheet that is so important. The reason I came up with this when I was doing the job search is I was applying for multiple positions at within the same organization. And it was quickly becoming confusing to me. I couldn't remember who the contact was, whether it was the same person for this job versus that job. When did I send them the email? How did I find that job? All of those types of things you need to embed into your job search Excel spreadsheet. I know it sounds like you're being too particular, but this will save you to be able to know how long has it been since I interviewed? How long has it been since I applied? It's kind of like a tickler file for your sales so that you stay on top of the time frame, and you'll be surprised. And you could even embed reminders and put it into your calendar that I need to circle back to this organization, or I want to send my thank you here. I want to follow up with the hiring manager at this point. But utilize this tracking sheet, personalize it the way you want, but do something very, very similar. Networking is so important. Virtually every job that I have ever acquired throughout my career has been obtained through networking, knowing someone, having those connections. You've got to forge those relationships. And that's why LinkedIn is so important, because it's a platform that allows you to network with people within the industry, outside of your region, outside of your country. You can connect with people that have similar taste and interest and skills. And you can even meet people for possibly mentoring and connect with your guest speakers. I mean, here I am as a guest speaker, and I know you've had others. Have you connected with those individuals? Like Dr. Green, who is a colleague of mine, I know she was the first speaker in this series. How many of you reached out to her? How many of you sent her an email to try to connect with her? How many of you looked her up on LinkedIn, tried to connect with her there? Every opportunity, or every one of those guest speakers is an opportunity to connect, and you never know who can lead you to your dream job. Tell everyone that you know if you are looking for a job, especially if you have been let go, if you've been laid off or furloughed from a job. Many times we take that so personally, we're a little bit embarrassed to tell people that we've been laid off or let go, and we don't want to walk around with a billboard and advertise that to everyone. But the more people that know, the better. I can't help you if I don't know that you need help. So let me know that you are in need, and then I can assist you. Getting active on LinkedIn, I know I've harped on that. It's just so important. I never realized prior to being let go from Wyndham how important and what a dominant presence that platform has taken when it comes to job searching, networking, and that business connection. That is the sole entity for meeting and interacting and searching for jobs online. And then the other thing to do is ask for recommendations and endorsements. You can do that through LinkedIn. There's the capability there for individuals to go in and evaluate that they have seen you utilize these skills. You're highly competent with this skill, where I can actually rank you in whether or not you perform well with those skills and competencies. So that's important as well, because it shows any future potential employer that all of these individuals see you as a leader. They see you with this capability or this competency. Rehearsing for the interview. You know, the interview is going to be very stressful anyway. So the more prepared that you can get, the better. The more you rehearse, run it through, prepare, look at those potential questions, rehearse your answers, check your lighting. If you're doing a Zoom, I know my lighting's not perfect, but it's the best. I don't have an overhead light in my office. But check your lighting to make sure that it showcases you in the best light. Because if I turn off my light, I'm going to be in the dark, and that's not what you want. You want to make sure that you test your lighting before you do any kind of virtual interview process. Be mindful of your background. So many times I've seen, I'll just be honest and say it. We've done Zooming sessions with people in academia, and I can see behind them the stacks of papers. Okay, what does that tell me about that individual? If I see them and I see stacks and stacks of papers, the paper dragon is eating their lunch. So it tells me that they're disorganized. So would I want to hire that individual if I'm looking for someone that they really need to be very well organized for that position and that role? Probably not. Another thing that has happened during all of this COVID Zoom session process, we had someone that actually dressed professionally from the waist up, but did not from the waist down. And something happened. I think someone came to the door and they had to go answer the door and forgot that they were not dressed entirely. So there they are in their undergarments, exposed to everyone. Again, things like this can happen, and you've got to think it through and be prepared for anything that could go wrong, that possibly will go wrong. And technology is usually one of the biggest issues. When what could go wrong, it's usually technology. But these things you have control over, and you need to take possession of them. Research your organization. There's different websites out there, and many times just going to their individual organizational website, you can learn so much about them. And now there's reviews. You can see people that have worked there, how they rank the culture. They can even tell you what some of their potential interview questions are, and how difficult the interview process could be. So do your homework. Go in and read and look at those organizations, and again, make sure that it's a good fit, because it may not be a good fit for you. If your values don't align with the organization's values, you may say, you know what, it's just not worth it. Dress to impress. Go through your wardrobe and select something that you think makes you look good, that will show well on screen, and do that ahead of time. Again, when it comes time for dressing the part, you've probably heard the saying, dress for the job that you want, not the one that you have. It's so important for people to visually see you in that specific role. Or it could be that you're interviewing for a job, and once they interview you and see you and meet you, get to know you, they go, you know what, this other job would be better for them. And it's probably a better paying position or a higher ranking position. So if you show them that you bring extra value to the table, to the organization, you've got to sell yourself. You've got to take possession of your personal brand and let them see you in that light. The other thing is to look at the interviewer, watch your body language. So many times when we get nervous, we look down, or we don't showcase ourselves in the best light. Think of your camera as being your friend, somebody that you would just talk to normally, and not thinking of it as a camera, or I'm being recorded. Look beyond that and just think of that as being one individual, one friend that you are just having a conversation with. The other thing is to ask questions. So many times when people are going through the interview process, they're nervous and they want it over with as quickly as possible. And so when they say, well, do you have any questions for us or about the organization? Oh, no questions. When you say no questions and you don't have any questions, it almost comes across subliminally like you aren't that interested in the organization or that position. So always think it through and have a question or two regarding the position, the roles, responsibilities, or the organization as a whole. But you always want to ask questions to show your engagement during that process. I learned this the hard way. I went into an interview, like I said, after I was let go from Wyndham. I went into a boardroom. I think there was like 7 people in this room. All of them had their heads down. They all had, some had laptops, some had hard copies of interview questions, and they were selecting which question they wanted to ask me off the list. the questions that they were asking me, I could tell they had never read my resume. They didn't know that I've worked at Circus in Las Vegas. They didn't know that I've been assistant manager in Beverly Hills. They didn't know I've been a country club manager. I've been a cruise director. I've worked with Wyndham Corporate for 20 years. And they're asking me these questions and I'm going, holy smokes. So the thing is, don't go in thinking that they know everything they need to know about you. You've got to go in prepared, again, to educate these people. You've got to go in with what I put together was an infographic, a one-sheet infographic on who I am, what I'm all about, so that if they can quickly look at that rather than looking at their sheet that has all of their little questions on there. They can look at my infographic and ask me questions about my specifics, whether it's my background, my competencies, my education, you name it. But don't go into an interview thinking that they already know who you are and what you're all about. Sometimes they just bring people in. They go, we've got an interview with so-and-so. We need, a couple of bodies to just come in and ask a few questions, and that's it. Go in well prepared. And like I said, that infographic really worked well for me, and I still utilize it today. And I share it with my students. They use it too. Sending a thank you card. You need to do that within 24 hours of having your interview. And I'm going to show you on the next slide the percentage of people that do send a thank you card, and you will see how important that is. You want to make sure that you send either a hard copy of a thank you card, whether it's a nice, handwritten thank you card, or if it's an email, you need to do that very, very quickly. The other thing to do is to make sure that you watch your spelling, watch your grammar, because during the interview process, let me just tell you this. When I was looking for a secretary for our department, I think we had close to 300 applicants. And so when you have stacks and stacks of applications, you're trying to weed through those as quickly as possible to get it to where it's something more manageable, which means that you are going to be looking for anyone that has not filled it out correctly, their spelling is off, their grammar is wrong, anything that I can use to kick that out and to take it out of the pile and reduce it down to something more manageable, I'm going to do. So take the extra time to dot the I's, cross the T's, make sure that everything that you are sending to them is correct and accurate and fine-tuned. The other thing to do is to follow up with your HR hiring manager. You want to not seem needy and seem overly needy, I guess is the best way to say it. Interviewers can detect when someone is desperate, and you don't want to come across as being so needy that you're desperate, that you really need that position to such a high degree. Because once they see that, it's almost like fear, when people see fear, animals, when they see fear in another, they target that individual. When someone's interviewing you and they see the desperation, what that means is that they could probably come off the salary that they would be offering to you, because they see that you probably would be so receptive to the position that you would take it if I offer you a lower salary. So just be mindful that you don't want to project that image. This is the amount of people that send a thank you follow-up from their interview, 1 in 20. So if you are the one that sends a thank you after your interview, you're going to have that competitive advantage. You're going to separate yourself from all those others. The other thing to keep in mind is I talked to you about the job description. It's so important. These days, most all organizations are utilizing software to scan your cover letter, your resume, to see if it aligns with the position that they're posting. Now, what it's scanning for is the keywords. So what you need to do is look at that job description and go through and find those keywords that are utilized throughout, and then embed those keywords into your cover letter, put them into your LinkedIn. Are we okay on time? Yeah, I think we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay. And embed those keywords into your cover letter, into your LinkedIn profile, into your resume, because as those platforms are scanning your collateral pieces, whether it's the cover letter or your resume, if you do not have those keywords embedded in there, it's going to kick you out, showing that you're not a good fit. You're not applicable for that position. So make sure that you take the time to do this. This is such an important step that when I did not do this. I did not understand this initially. And so I was kicked out of a lot of positions that I applied for because I did not embed those keywords. So, and you can see that 90% of employers utilize some type of software to scan resumes and cover letters. It's so important. I told you already about your social media, that they are going to scan your social media. They're going to do a Google search. They're going to Google you. They're going to see what's out there, and you had better clean it up. And, you know, that's all I'm going to say. It is so important that you project a professional image, that you are not projecting yourself in a poor light. And keep in mind your personal brand. What are your values? What do you stand for? If I go to your social media, how am I going to interpret who you are and what you're all about? Because, you know, it's look at Instagram. You look at those images and you get ideas and concepts and thoughts from just looking at that imagery. It happens the same way with the hiring process. When I see images of people, I know whether or not, I'm not going to say I know, I have perceptions, perceived ideas of whether that person is a good fit, or whether they might be prone to come in late, tardy. You know, if you've got a lot of imagery of you in wrinkled clothing and looking disheveled and not looking your best, I mean, is that the way you're going to show up for my organization if I hire you? If I'm looking at you and then I look at another candidate and this other candidate is sharp and they look so professional, chances are I'm going to be swayed to look at that other individual. So just be so mindful of the presence of that personal brand image that you're pushing out there, and make sure that it is who you are and what you represent. Talk to you about applying with confidence. You know, confidence is almost infectious. You know, when someone is, they understand who they are and what their strengths and capabilities are. I mean, it's very magnetic. You are really drawn to that individual. So take the time to really look at who you are and what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, but what you bring, the value that you bring to that organization. And I've told you again, I think this is the last time I will say this, but please continue to learn. Don't hit 25 and then, you know, disengage and all of a sudden you're no longer learning anymore. It's going to make for a poor life. You know, you really want the best out of life. You need to continue to learn and continue to grow and have the best life that you can. The other thing to do when you've had your interview is to take some time to analyze that. How did it go? Was it good? You know, did they ask some questions that you had not anticipated? If you were asked that question again, how would you answer it this time? Or maybe you liked the answer that you had, and I need to remember to answer it like that going forward if somebody else asked me the same question. But take the time to really think it through as to, did I do well? Did I not do well? What could I do differently? What could I change? And maybe you might have the same situation where you're being interviewed by people that don't know who you are or your background or your experience. So just kind of take the time to reevaluate that whole interview process and how it went. The other thing that I would recommend to you, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, is to be open to opportunities. You know, I told you about the different sectors that are targeting individuals with a hospitality background. Healthcare is doing it to enhance their patient experience. Retail is doing it to enhance their customer experience. Life is like a hallway. Certain doors are going to open and certain doors are going to close. It's a lot easier to go in the doors that open. And not to get religious with you, but many times doors open because that is where you are intended to go. You can force a door open, but many times that was not the path intended for you, and it's going to take you on a detour. You may eventually get back to where you were supposed to be, but it's taking you out of the way. So be mindful that, be open to any possibilities or opportunities that come your way, and don't be so narrow-minded that you say, oh, I only want to do events, or I only want to do this. You're going to hurt yourself in the long run. And who's to say, you know, like me, I was never exposed to marketing. I mean, I ended up doing marketing with Wyndham Corporate for 20 years, but in my undergrad years, I was never exposed to marketing. It wasn't until later on when I was at the property level and I had to get people in the door or to our store, right? That's what marketing is. I had to really fine tune my marketing efforts for my property. And those skills enabled me to take that to the corporate level. But I think if I had known about marketing and what it is, I would have probably either looked at a minor in marketing or maybe even a double major. But be open. Don't be so narrow-minded that you that you miss out on different opportunities that are out there. The other thing I would tell you is to expect the job search to last longer than you had anticipated. It's going to take you a while. I mean, unless, you know, something happens to come to you quicker than what I have seen and what I've seen with others, generally it takes a long time. It takes networking. It takes getting the word out that you're looking. It makes you taking the time to do the research to find the jobs that are out there, making sure it's a good fit, and to make sure that your cover letter, your resume are fine-tuned to the best that they can be. The other thing is, because it takes so long, is to be mindful that you need to take care of yourself. It's a very stressful process, and you need to look after yourself. You need to make sure you're getting the right amount of sleep and eating correctly and getting fresh air. Get out and enjoy nature a little bit, but don't be so focused on the job that because see, again, that can lead into that desperation. You want to divert from that and step away from it and not be so focused on it 24/7. Give yourself a break. The other thing is to be open to looking at temporary jobs, part-time jobs, volunteering. I put down a couple of websites there for you that take a look at those for possibly volunteering. I even looked to see if they were applicable in Ecuador, and they are. So take a look at those as possibilities, because you never know who you might meet there. Again, networking, right? Or it may lead to something long-term. Again, people see you and often will think, I need them on my team, or they would be perfect for this job. So again, don't lose sight of opportunities that are out there and the different ways that you could uncover that or be exposed to those opportunities. This is just a great quote from Babe Ruth. He's a baseball great. And the quote is, every strike gets me closer to the next home run. And my point there is to realize that you're going to have strikeouts. You're going to have times that you don't get selected, and you're going to think, I was the best candidate for that job, or I was a shoo-in. I cannot believe they didn't pick me. Trust the process. Realize that there's a reason why you didn't get that job. There is a position intended for you that's going to come to you in your own right, but you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to take possession of your personal brand. You've got to get your resume, your cover letter. You've got to get that together. You've got to get on LinkedIn. You've got to clean up your social media. You've got to work your personal brand and make it as shiny as possible. You've got to take professionalism to a new level and look at how can you incorporate critical thinking and all of those most wanted social skills that entities, hospitality and tourism organizations are looking for now. You want to promote the fact that you've got those skills, how you can utilize them, and how it would benefit that organization. These are just some of the resources that are available to you, whether you're looking to create your resume, looking for some different cover letters and some different ideas. The job search, Glassdoor is a great website to kind of give you some ideas of different organizations, the interview process, the culture. There's a lot of information there that you can learn about those different organizations. Here's some websites for sample interview questions, potential interview questions, and even some of the best responses. So take a look at those, make them your own, okay? But don't just take that and utilize that. Make it personal, because when we're going through the interview process, they're trying to get to know you, learn about you, and you don't want something that's canned or preconceived. So take whatever's available out here and make it your own. These are some more websites that are available to you. The one thing I would tell you about Indeed.com is that it's a bit of a bottom feeder website that many times if you, well, just don't apply through there. You can utilize it as a research website to kind of see what's out there in terms of jobs and job postings, but don't apply through that. You'll end up getting someone that tries to get you to sell insurance or sell something that's really not what you got your degree to do. So be mindful of that. And then certifications, whether it's Zip Job or the one that's available, the certificate program through USF, the South Florida, take a look at that as a means to enhance your resume and add to your competencies. So muchas gracias. I thank you so much. I appreciate you attending today. That's everything that I have, but I'm open to questions, and I'd love to entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Robert, so much. I think it's really important to know all these things so you can apply for the job you really want. Okay, so we are open to questions. Please raise your hand and we will open your microphone.
Either I did a good job in educating them or I put them to sleep.
Okay, we have one question from Christian.
Good.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm not sleepy at all.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah, it was quite interesting, everything you said. And actually, I was taking some pictures of all of the info that you were giving us, especially of the pages and the resumes, like saying it like that, the perfect kind of resume you can present to someone to take a better chance to get a job, especially
Mhm.
in the hospitality area. And the only thing I wanted to, the only thing I had a doubt of was like, because of COVID and the pandemic, is people hiring, or are better chances in United States to get a job? Is there better chances?
It's changing, and you're starting to see more and more open up and more hiring taking place, and that's going to continue. Like I say, once we emerge out of COVID-19, you're going to see a boom that like we've never seen before, because there's so much pent up demand, and that's that term, revenge travel, and you're going to see that. But when do you graduate, Christian?
Christian?
Sorry, I'm getting like a kind of interference between the Wi-Fi in my house.
When do you graduate, Christian?
Okay, sorry. I graduate like in 2 years. I was
2 years.
having interference in the Wi-Fi, so
Oh,
yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, within 2 years, we should emerge out of this by that point in time. But those that are graduating, let's say in May, there's going to be opportunities out there, but be open to different sectors.
Yeah.
Particularly, healthcare is one that is really targeting those with a hospitality background. There's a lot of opportunities there with hospitality healthcare, where you can go in and enhance the patient experience. Retail is another that is really strategically targeting those with a hospitality background. But just be mindful that don't be so narrow-minded that you're not open to different opportunities, because this is truly unprecedented times. And it may be that you take this job temporarily for a little while until things open up, and then you look at changing from that point. But you never know where that position may lead. I always trust that things happen for a reason. And so if you get that position, before you jump ship, look at it in terms of, what does it offer? What can it bring me? Where can it get me down the road? I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Robert. Really interesting answer. Good afternoon.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, we have another question from Sophia.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for all the suggestions, Dr. Thompson, that you have shared this afternoon. To me, it has been being fascinating to hear you, because I am an English teacher, and sometimes I have to teach them how to follow a job interview. And I feel happy because mostly of the things that you have suggested, I have done with my students. So I
Oh,
kind of
good.
feel that I am on the same track. If you allow me, and if the program allows me to ask you a question, I was just asked yesterday to translate, or to be the interpreter of a speaker who is going to talk for several important institutions in here. And listening to you, I was trying to do this exercise of listening, you speaking in English and me translating in Spanish at the same time. It was a little bit complicated to pass all those ideas. I don't know if I can take this opportunity talking with you. What would you suggest me to contact to this person in the US and ask the speaker if she or he could please give me what is the topic that is going to be about, or give it a chance of having one paragraph being said for this audience and me being the person who translates it? Or what would you please recommend in that situation?
Yeah, I think, like I said, things happen for a reason, and for that opportunity to come your way, I think you need to entertain it. I think if you could ask for more details, possibly learn a little bit more of what the speaker is intending to say, so that you could kind of already do your homework in terms of the key talking points that he or she is going to be talking about. So you would already have that as a backup. You know what I'm saying? That if they start to get deep into an area that you're afraid to go down that rabbit hole, I don't know if they use that terminology in Ecuador, but getting off track, you could always fall back on those key talking points. So I would ask them for a little bit more information about the talk, maybe the key talking points and what they are planning on discussing. What are the key takeaways of that talk? So whatever those key takeaways are, then you can take that and interpret that and have those buckets readily available to interject whenever you need.
I do appreciate that you answered me that, because I was a little bit ashamed of asking. I was unsure. So
No, you know, and be honest with them. Tell them that this is your first, interpretation, opportunity, but you welcome it and you would love to participate. And once you start to get those key talking points, I think it would make you feel more comfortable that you would have that as a backup, that if things did go awry, you could quickly divert back over to those. And I think it would make you feel more self-assured and more confident.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I have some questions in the chat. So about the certificate, maybe you can help us with the putting the information of the certificate, because I have some questions about that, and I have other questions in the with the hand raised. So maybe you can put the PowerPoint of the certificate. I think they are really interested about that. I know you send me the presentation, and I will send you that, so you will have all the information. And I also have a question from Christina. Please, Christina.
Hi, Robert. Thank you, first of all, for your tips especially in these hard times. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, when you mentioned like LinkedIn and other ways to, to expand their social networking. One of my questions was, when you're new to LinkedIn, like I am, I don't really know, for example, what kind of experiences should I put. Like if I put all my job experiences, because I had like a few, or if I just put the experiences that are related to my interest to finding a new job.
Now, I would put everything that you've ever done, because you have talent acquisition managers and such that are going to be perusing. They're going to be looking through the profiles, again, doing searches. You want all of those keywords that they are utilizing to search all the different profiles, that they'll pick it up from your profile. You can also set your profile to be receptive to job opportunities. So make sure you do that on your LinkedIn profile.
Okay, thank you. And a second question that I was going to ask
Sure.
you. And also, do you, when you said that they would probably, they definitely would look at our social media, do you think that we should, like, I don't know, open our social media publicly to them, or like put it in our resume or our LinkedIn accounts?
No, you don't have to make it public. Just Google yourself and see what's readily available to anyone that searches for you, because there's going to be information about you on the internet. I'm just telling you. So whatever's out there, be mindful that just analyze it. Take a moment to sit back and look at it with true with a true mindset as to, is it representing me in the best light? Is it my personal brand? Is it who I am, what I'm all about? Because again, you don't want someone to get the perception, because perception is reality. And if someone perceives you as being a party girl or, one that's not professional or that kind of thing, it's very easy. I mean, I remember when I was with Wyndham, we used to do casual Fridays, and there was a young lady at the office that would not dress appropriately, I guess is the best way to say it. And she would have to be counseled because of her attire. You just don't want, and she never even thought of herself as projecting that image. But after being counseled, she realized that she was projecting this unprofessional image. And so they actually had someone take her to a store to kind of show her some appropriate attire, some outfits that would be more in line with what's expected within Wyndham Corporate.
Thank you, Robert, for your
You're
answer.
welcome.
Thank you very much. I don't think we have time for more questions. I'm sorry about that, but Robert, I really appreciate being here, giving all those tips for the interviews. I think that's really interesting because while you are studying, you're always looking for a job. That's the goal. So if you know what to do, I think that's really important because everybody wants their dream job. And this is, I think this is really interesting for the students. So really, thank you very much for all the information and for being here. And I'm looking forward for all the programs that we are planning, so we can go there with some students. You can come here. So I think that will be great. So really, I appreciate all the information.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Chicos, muchas
Thank you,
gracias. Nos
Robert.
vemos en el
Muchas
siguiente
gracias.
coloquio. Espero que les haya gustado esta presentación y nos vemos en el siguiente, que me parece que es el próximo miércoles. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias, Juanpa. Thank you, Robert.
Gracias.
Bye, guys.
Hacerle una
Gracias,
preguntita,
Wendy.
doctor, una chiquitita. No,
¿Para quién, perdón?
para el doctor puedo hacerle una pregunta chiquita.
Rápidamente, porque no tenemos mucho tiempo.
Ok, sí, doctor.
Robert,
Sorry.
do you have some time?
Yes.
They
Should I
want
just
to ask
ask
you
you
some
a
questions.
little bit? Doctor, what would you suggest respecting to internships? Do students have to add their internships on their resume?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any experience that you get, you want to highlight. So whatever you're doing for your internship, any part-time jobs, volunteering, anything like that just adds to your value.
And if they don't have, if they are looking for, could they put interests on?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would, just like, within LinkedIn, you state that you are open to opportunities. I would make sure that you state that you are looking or seeking an internship. And I would even reach out to, once you start forging that network on LinkedIn, reach out to people and inquire about whether or not they have internship opportunities. And you've got to work it. You've got to seek those opportunities that are out there. That, I used to think, because I'm a good person, things are just going to come to me. And I don't know where I got this mindset, but it's not how it works. It's a two-way street. You've got to do your part. Yes, things will come to you because you're a good person, but you've got to work it as well. You have got to, you can't just sit back and wait for things to come to you.
Thank you,
not
sir.
how it works.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Gracias,
Thank you so
Juanpa.
much. Again, I appreciate you were here. I will send you the PowerPoint so you can have all this information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Juanca, yo te tenía una pregunta sobre la
claro.
clase. Yo